welcome to the Canton Chamber Year Ahead event. We're happy to have all of you here. Our speaker is going to be traveling to us virtually to do his presentation this afternoon. So as we kick off our event, we have with us Quentin Messer, the president of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, or MEDC. Quentin, I was just trying to paint your picture there on the screen. It's not working good. So we're going to keep the show rolling. But Quentin, thank you so much for being here. Your slide deck is on the screen, so we'll get that shown for you on your side in just a moment. But just to introduce Quentin to us, or to all of you, as the MEDC CEO and president and chair of the Michigan Strategic Fund, Quentin is charged with implementing and executing MEDC's core mission of business, development, and attraction. Community development, providing access to capital, and enhancing Michigan's image and brand with a focus on building a strong and equitable economy for all Michiganders. His responsibilities include managing the administration of all programs, funds, personnel, contracts, and other administrative functions of MEDC. Quentin is a member of Governor Gretchen E. Whitmer's cabinet and serves on the boards of the American Center for Mobility, Michigan Israel Business Accelerator, International Economic Development Council, and Oklahoma University's Economic Development Institute, and is a member of the Michigan Council on Climate Solutions. Immediately prior to joining MEDC, Quentin was president and CEO at the New Orleans Business Alliance, which under his leadership became one of fewer than 80 accredited economic development organizations worldwide. Quentin also previously served as the Assistant Secretary for Louisiana Economic Development and Louisiana's Department of Economic Development. So with that, I welcome Quentin Messer to our Canton Chamber organization. And Quentin, you can take it away as soon as we get your slide deck here shown.
Right. I don't know whether folks can hear me or not, but can they comments? I don't know. You'll have to help me there.
Yes, we can hear you loud.
Hey, first of all, I want to thank Thomas and his entire team for their flexibility. Sorry I'm not there in person. Been traveling as part of the governor's delegation to Norway and Switzerland, and then actually we're headed back to DC for meetings tomorrow. So we got in, landed, and we're going to turn it right back around shortly. So apologies that I'm not there in person, but I want to be very clear. The work of chambers like yours are incredibly important for us at Michigan Economic Development Corporation, an important part of Team Michigan. So I am grateful for your sacrifice, your investment in the Canton Chamber and Thomas and his team, and I look forward to at some point this year, if there is another occasion, that would be appropriate. Thomas, let me know when you want me to begin, because I want to be sensitive to folks' time. Okay, so I can't see. Oh, I think I can see now. You just started explaining. Okay, great. So I want to try to go through these if I can. There are 19 slides. I'm going to try to do them very quickly, maybe in under. If that's okay. Thomas, is that okay?
Yes, that's great.
Okay, great. So one of the things that I've learned, I am not a native Michigander. As I tell people, I'm a Michigander by choice. I wasn't blessed to be born here. And one of the things I've realized in 18 months of being here is that Michiganders are obsessed with winning, and they're obsessed with championships. And so I want to talk a little bit about what I see as our shared quest for building a championship economy and a quest for consistent greatness. Next slide, please. Hey, yeah, next slide, please.
Is that a bench where you would?
I can't see it, but I am going to, if you, can you see it in the room?
Yes.
Can you see it now,
Again?
Can you see it now?
I cannot, but I have it,
Okay.
I can see it now. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. So
Technology.
no worries. So one of the things that, you may hear about MEDC, in the press, and you hear a lot of times in connection to large projects, whether it was our announcement with General Motors last year, which was the largest single investment, $7 billion, or $2 billion investment with Ford, SOAR projects, things of that nature. But we're much more than just large projects. They matter because one of the reasons why the Michigan economy, one of the reasons why your Chamber of Commerce, I would argue, is strong, is because you have large businesses who provide client and customer opportunities for smaller and medium-sized businesses. There's one reason why so many other states and provinces seek to have and recruit OEMs, original equipment manufacturers in the assembly space or the battery space, because they bring significant supply and value chains. But we're much more than that at MEDC, and I want to make sure that Thomas, for those who are interested, feel free to share these slides with them. But we do placemaking investments. So we last year had a $100 million RAP program, revitalization and placemaking program. Through our program, Pure Michigan Business Connect, we connect businesses and suppliers and provide matchmaking opportunities for those larger companies that I alluded to earlier. We help expand small and medium-sized companies into international markets through some of our efforts with our Small Business Solutions team. We accelerate startup opportunities through work in our entrepreneurship and innovation team. We help small businesses grow. We realize there's much more work to do, but we provide significant funding to small business development centers on both peninsulas. We work very closely with PTACs on both peninsulas to make sure that we help small and medium-sized businesses grow, because we know that no business is small to the owner. Frequently, the owner of a smaller enterprise has sacrificed not only not paying themselves, but frequently taking 2 and 3 mortgages out on their homes in order to make payments, and we understand and celebrate the risk-taking entrepreneurs that have made Michigan great. We also, if you know anything about the Pure Michigan campaign, that's a part of MEDC, that's part of our Travel Michigan program. And then finally, we protect and rehabilitate Michigan's historic places through our State Historic Preservation Office, and we do much more. Next slide. So we had a tremendous year in 2022. I'm a big sports fanatic, so the one thing I've learned from great coaches, you don't look at the film too long, whether it's a good or bad year, but we had a tremendous year where we secured significant investments, not only through significant transformational projects, but we also provided and worked with our utilities, DTE, Consumers Energy, our 2 publicly traded utilities, along with the Michigan Public Service Commission, to make sure that we found utility rates that were going to be much more competitive for small and medium-sized businesses across both states, across both peninsulas. Next slide, please. So I don't have to tell you this, but the world is very different pre-COVID. We realized that at MEDC, we needed to step up, and as you have, your business lives have and personal lives to the new normal. So we know that one of the things that we are all dealing with are shortage of workers. Some of it is a function of, people still dealing with the ravages of long COVID. Some folks are dealing with elder care and child care. Many more people have become entrepreneurs and have become part of the gig economy. But we realize that we have to provide opportunities for more and more workers to re-engage. Small and medium-sized businesses need consistent care and attention. And so we have to figure out ways to work with our small business development centers, chambers, and others to make sure that we're connecting small and medium-sized businesses to opportunity. Because when you're a small and medium-sized business owner, you're trying to make payroll. You're trying to make sure that your accounts receivable and accounts payable are in a fashion that you can successfully manage. But we understand that. We all have been affected by supply chain. If any of you tried to buy a car in 2021 and certainly in parts of 2022, because of semiconductor chip shortages, we had cars that were completed, many times sitting across our great state of Michigan, but not fully to provide heated seats or other amenities that we've grown to expect because the semiconductors weren't there. And we can talk about in the Q&A and elsewhere some of the aggressive steps that we in Michigan are taking to make sure that more of those supply chain comes to Michigan. And then finally, rural ships. I think, there are a lot of tragedy with regard to what happened because of the pandemic and the endemic. But one of the things that people are beginning to rediscover that there is an advantage to living in rural and serving rural communities. And so we saw an increase of people who said, hey, look, I want to be able to have space where I can entertain and socialize. And I think people began to rediscover the power of Michigan as a state that has not only vibrant urban areas, suburban areas, rural areas, and semi-rural areas. Next slide, please. So what's our path forward? We are in an incredibly challenging environment. We have to be consistent. We have to win in our own backyard, which means that we have to make sure that more Michigan businesses, when they decide to expand and grow, they grow right in Michigan. We have to make sure that we are developing best-in-class physical and knowledge infrastructure. The governor in 2018 ran on Fix Those Damn Roads, and she has worked very hard to do that. Work remains, but we have to figure out how to do that, especially as, if we see the adoption of electric vehicles, there'll be less of us using ICE vehicles, and there'll be fewer gasoline tax to fund our road maintenance. And then we also have to develop knowledge infrastructure to make sure that our young people have access to online learning opportunities so that you have fewer families who have to go to a McDonald's or a coffee shop or to a local library to get a consistent high-speed internet connectivity. And that's something that you see work through the Office of High-Speed Internet the governor established as part of LEO, which is the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity. So we realize that we have to make sure that it's easier for your businesses to move your goods and services, but we also have to make sure that we're connected, our next generation as well as this generation, connected to each other in the 21st century. And then finally, we have a great story to tell. I'm a native of the South, and the one thing we say down south is, it ain't bragging if it's true. And we have a wonderful story to tell in Michigan. Doesn't say that we are perfect, doesn't say that there isn't work to do, but when you look at some of the things that are true about Michigan, the 11th largest state in land area in the U.S., 10th largest in population, second most diversified agricultural economy. Increasingly, weather will be an advantage for us because we don't have horrific flooding that you see in California. We don't have scarcity of water since we are surrounded by 20% of the world's fresh water. We have 4 delightful seasons. We have tremendous higher ed, public and private institutions. We have great 2-year institutions. We know how to build things. So we have a great story to tell, and we have to tell that in a much more forceful way beyond the pure Michigan, which says all the wonderful things you can do in Michigan. We now need to be aggressive about telling who we are. Next slide. I'm going to speed up the pace a little bit so I can get to questions. Look, it's a Team Michigan approach. And these are just some of the people with whom we work. A big part of that are obviously chambers like yours, making sure that we're hearing from you and understanding those concerns that you might have. Next slide, please. So we have to win in our backyard. What I talked about earlier is we have to help small and medium-sized businesses to grow. And we realize that our responsibility is to be a central convener of information. So when small businessmen and women, they should be able to go to a single point and try to get information. We need to make sure that we are in constant dialogue with the chamber. We are, working with our small business development centers, and we're working with our state representatives, the state senators, as well as our congressmen and women, that they have the required information they need when you as a businessman or businesswoman have questions. Next slide, please. So we talked about winning in our backyard. Another aspect of that, I alluded to it earlier, is the fact that we are a tremendous agricultural state, second most diversified. About 70% of all our friends and neighbors live in rural and semi-rural areas. So the governor last year created an office of rural development. That's part of the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. We at MEDC work very closely with them, and they're charged to make sure that they can address some of the concerns that affect Michiganders who live in rural areas. Economic and workforce development, infrastructure. We talked about the physical and knowledge infrastructure, making sure there's high-speed internet connectivity, public health, and environmental sustainability. We do realize that Michigan's quality of life is strengthened when our rural and semi-rural communities have vibrant main streets and see population growing as we have post-COVID. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we did, we realized we at MEDC, we're not going to solve anything by sitting in Lansing. We have about 25% of my colleagues live and work remotely across both peninsulas. So we realized we need to restructure our entire organization and make sure that we're focused on being regionally relevant. So how do we do that? We created a regional prosperity team. Men and women who are focused not only on business attraction, retention, expansion, but also community development, including revitalization and placemaking. We have 10 prosperity regions across both peninsulas, and we are excited that Matt McCauley, who formerly led our work, was a regional partner in Networks Northwest, is now SVP leading this effort. Next slide, please. So I talked about the Office of High-Speed Internet. We can get you any information that you need to on any topics on this slide. This is part of the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, or LEO, but I'll be more than happy to work with Thomas and his team to make sure that if you have questions about any information that's been shared, we can get you connected to the right person. Next slide, please. So I talked a little bit about the necessity of physical and knowledge infrastructure. We understand the challenges of finding talent, workforce shortages. We need to address our declining population. One of the goals and one of the things that motivates me every morning is really trying to figure out how can we create opportunity so that the next generation, our sons, daughters, nieces, and nephews, realize all their economic hope and dreams right here in Michigan. And that is making sure that physical and knowledge infrastructure here in Michigan is world class. Next slide, please. We have a talent action team with something that we created last year to make sure that we're providing solutions to businesses of all sizes. We've been particularly focused on the mobility and semiconductor sector, but there are other sectors that this could be applicable to, but we really want to focus on mobility and semiconductors because if you recall, the governor in her victory address talked about the bipartisan consensus that we need to be competitive in mobility, semiconductors, and clean energy, because those sectors are sectors in which we can be competitive in Michigan, but we also have a significant amount of jobs currently, and so we have to make sure that we are winning in the transition from the internal combustion engine to electric vehicles or fuel cells or other propulsions, and we also have to make sure that we don't have a situation in the future where we have cars who have to sit dormant and not be fully activated because we don't have semiconductors. We need to bring that manufacturing home, and we've been very aggressively pursuing that now that the CHIPS Act has been passed at the federal level. Next slide, please. This is strategic site readiness. One of the things that we realize that sometimes you don't, a number of you are probably involved in real estate, you don't know who's looking all the time, but you have to be ready when a company, particularly large multinational companies, say we need 500, 600, 1,000 acres, 1,500 acres. We need to develop those sites, excuse me, across both peninsulas. Frequently, when you start talking about mega sites really about 750 acres and larger, they have to be in areas that have about 750,000 people within a 45-minute drive time radius. These are sort of things that companies think about as they try to capture talent. And we have to do it in such a way that we don't create a cannibalistic effect on our existing businesses. Next slide, please. So a big part of physical and knowledge infrastructure is making sure that our housing stock is available and up to date. Because our population has been relatively stagnant, unlike some places in the South and the West, we haven't always created new housing stock. But we realize this is something that we have to do. You cannot separate housing and real estate development from economic development or workforce development. It goes all hand in hand because we're human beings. So yes, we all work, but we need to go somewhere where we can have shelter, where we can have amenities for recreation, for socialization, and we also want to have things where our next generation, our children, our nieces, our nephews, can carve out a future for themselves. Next slide, please. One of the things that we have been doing, we really recognize that Michigan has to look like the totality of who we are as a state. Our inclusivity, whether it's based upon physical location, race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, we realize that our strength has always been Michigan is willing to open its arms wide to any man, any woman who's willing to work hard, play by the rules, and participate in growing this great state. And that has to be done not only civically, but also business, because we realize that that's going to be an increasing, not only something that is important because there's certain business advantages, but the next generation of millennials and Generation Z, they expect to have a workplace, companies, society that reflect how they grew up, how they see the world. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we're proud to say is some of the work that we've done in and around the Canton region. I don't know whether representatives of these two companies happen to be in the audience, but shout out to them at AGP E-Glass Company and Trinity 7 Enterprises. These are two companies that have received support from the MEDC and the Michigan Strategic Fund. Next slide, please. I talked about earlier, Pure Michigan is an iconic campaign that has continued to tell the world that Michigan is a world-class business and travel destination. The streets of Detroit will be roaring with engines as the Grand Prix returns to the streets of Detroit. World-class amenities in Detroit, which lead to tremendous shopping and other opportunities in Canton. The NFL draft will be in Michigan next year, and the Final Four, I believe, in 2027. So these are things, let alone the hiking, the biking, the fall, the spring, the various festivals that are on both peninsulas. But Pure Michigan is a part of sharing that message with the world. Next slide, please. So our journey to greatness, we realize it's going to be, it's not going to be easy. Other states and provinces, we're in a global competition for not only human capital, but financial capital. We compete, because we're an international state with 3 international border crossings, we compete aggressively with Canada, we compete aggressively with Mexico here in the northern hemisphere. And we are in a global competition. I just got back from Norway and Switzerland, headed to DC to talk to companies there who have international operations. Companies are making global allocation decisions. Many of you in this room are shipping your goods and services abroad, and so we realize we are in a global competition. But like any good football, basketball, any sports program, we have to build a moat and retain as much of investment by Michigan companies where it can occur in North America, it has to occur in Michigan. We have to tell our story significantly better. We at MBDC have to be best in class. So we need to come out and engage proactively with our local and regional partners like the chamber here. We also have to make sure that we're more regionally relevant. Yes, we're on 2 peninsulas, 83 counties, 10 prosperity regions, but we also realize that, yes, I would say 85 to 90% of what unites us is very similar, but that last 10% matters. And so there are things of concern and aspirations that are different in the Upper Peninsula than it is up north, than it is in Southwest Michigan or Southeast Michigan or in the Thumb or in Traverse City. But we need to make sure that we at MBDC are relevant and creating germane policies and programming for that. And then we have to make sure that we realize and that we're in a customer business. Our governor is very fond of saying, we will move mountains and we'll build you a mountain if we have to in order to ethically, morally, and legally secure more investment for 10+ million Michiganders. So with that, I think that's my last slide. Next slide is just my personal contact information. I am very grateful for the opportunity to have presented. Sorry I'm not there in person. I'll turn it back over to Thomas and his team if we have time for questions.
Yes, we do have time for questions. Any questions from the group here? For Quinn? We have one.
Hi, Quentin. I'm Mary McCallett from Eastern Michigan University. I actually heard you at the DEC event last week, and I share your affinity for grilled cheese sandwiches. I'll start with that. In line.
I'm sorry, I can't hear. Can someone repeat whatever's being said in the room?
Quentin, can you hear me better?
Maybe you need to phone.
Yes, step over there. Sorry.
My apologies. I'm sorry. I couldn't hear every 4 words. I really couldn't make it out. Yeah, that's better. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm Mary McCallett from Eastern Michigan University, and I had mentioned that I saw you at the DEC event last week, and I share your affinity for grilled cheese sandwiches. So you had to be there to know that.
Yes,
But
thank you.
I wanted to ask you in line with your talking about future generations, are you actively engaged in any programs that work directly with the college and university students to support some of the initiatives that you mentioned?
Sure, great question. So a couple of things. Yeah, I actually spoke to the School of Engineering and met some students at Eastern Michigan, gosh, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. So a part of those talent action teams that I mentioned in mobility and semiconductor are working very closely with our universities. There was an RFP process where our universities responded and going to be partners to make sure that we train the next generation of Michiganders to have the skills that are required not only in mobility and semiconductor, clean energy, and other advanced manufacturing. There's more work that we need to do, admittedly. We're trying to build out our talent solutions team, including engagement with our institutions of higher ed. We have to make it easier to translate all that higher ed is doing so that businessmen and businesswomen can understand and figure out how to plug into it. So we have a role to play, and you'll be hearing more about that. My colleague, Denise Graves, works very closely with our higher ed officials.
Any other questions? Okay. Quentin, no other questions at this time. Once again, we thank you for joining us in our Canton Chamber group this afternoon.
Well, thank you so much, and Thomas, feel free to share the slides with any of the attendees or any of your members who are interested, and I hope to be able to meet you all in person. Stay safe and continue to believe in Pure Opportunity in Michigan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chris. Okay, so again, we obviously appreciate the information that Quinn was able to provide us. We will distribute his slide deck. If you would like to receive that information, we'll make sure that we get that distributed to everybody that was registered for. Can you guys hear me? I didn't know if I needed to mic or not. Can you hear me? It was, okay. So we'll make sure we get that slide deck distributed to everybody that registered for the event.
This thing on?
You don't need it. No.
You don't need it. I don't know if she was recording, if she needed it.
So you heard me. We'll distribute it to everybody that needs it, okay? So we're going to move on with the rest of our program this afternoon. So first up, one of the pieces of business that we'll actually take care of this afternoon is our installation of officers of our board of directors, actually. So actually this year we're starting a new tradition. It wasn't meant to be, guys. I'm gonna just send this guy right there.
You literally dropped the mic.
I literally dropped the mic. That's been happening all day. So we're going to start a new tradition this year with our installation of officers, and we're actually going to invite our previous chair of our Canton Chamber Board to start facilitating our installation of officers. So this year, to start this new tradition off for us, I would like to invite Mr. Terry Javit up to the front of the room. And also, if our this year's board could also join us at the front of the room as well. And if you could line up, if you're a board member, if you can line up here to my right. Mr. Javit served as chair in 2011. Okay. 2011, and so Terry, we're happy to have you here to perform our installation for us.
Thank you. Glad to be here, buddy. I'm very honored to be the first past chair, take on this event. I enjoyed all the years I was at Chamber over 12. And so with that, I'll ask the board members to raise your right hand and say yes when I've asked the following question. Do you, as the 2023 Canton Chamber Board of Directors, swear to fulfill your duties to the best of your abilities above the bylaws as set forth by the Chamber of Commerce?
Yes.
So be it.
So if any of you want to be on the board next year, see, it's not too hard.
I'm done with that. Just for today. Just for today. Not just for you. So obviously looking forward to working shoulder to shoulder with our board for 2023. With that, I'm actually going to turn the floor over to this year's chair of the board, Mr. Dempsey.
Thank you, Thomas. So I'm going to try the mic. Sounds like a good enough acoustics in here. But first of all, thank you for coming. It's nice to see a lot of familiar faces and then some new faces too, which I'm looking forward to getting to meet all the new faces better this year. So I'm super excited about it. As you know, as Quentin had mentioned about being here for the businesses, that's really what the chamber is for, is to support business. And one of the things, we can't do it without you either. So it's a really symbiotic relationship, right, between the members and the chamber itself. So you can help us help you, while we can help you help us. So if you didn't get a chance, the tables up front here, if you didn't get a chance to see them, they'll be time afterwards as well. But these are additional opportunities for you to get involved and to have some of the fun of setting things up and being involved with the events that we have. The event itself is always fun, but so is setting up the event. because you get to make new friendships and get to network and everything in that aspect as well. The second part of it is on your table, there is a investment menu. Kind of goes back to help us help you kind of thing, and but it is also a great opportunity. There's a lot of events going on this year and a lot of custom and fun ways to be involved, and obviously that creates an additional exposure for your business and just gets you more plugged in. And I always believe, when it comes to chambers, you get out of them what you put into them as well. So the more involved you are, the more fun you have, the more networking you get, the more people you meet, and that just all, as you know, relates into better, more business in the future. So, again, I'm excited about this year. My name's Devin Smith, and if I'm out at any events and you see me, come over and say hi. I'd like to get to know you better. So, thank you.
And Devin, we thank you for your volunteer efforts to step up and be chair this year. So obviously looking forward to working with you as well. We should acknowledge also last year, 2022, Mary Jane served as chair, so she's outgoing our past chair, serving as past chair this year. So we thank you for all of your work and efforts last year as well. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of talk about the year ahead. Kind of more of the reason that we're here to just kind of highlight some of the new programs that are coming up. Some maybe older programs that are returning for this year in 2022. And so we're going to talk about this moment of movement in just a moment. But as we've ended 2022, we're really coming off of a really momentous year. 2022, we celebrated our 50th anniversary of serving the Canton community, which was capped off by a really beautiful celebration at the Henry Ford Museum. But as we ended 2022 and we enter into the 51st year of serving the Canton community, the question that I and our leadership team, our board, our staff, the question that we always ask ourselves is, well, what now? What's next? What can we continue to do to ensure that we are serving our members, community at large, to the very best of our ability? Always providing cutting-edge resources and programming that will ultimately benefit your engagement with us. But as I was preparing this presentation this morning, really just thinking about as we plan for this entire year, one of the phrases that continued to pop into my head was a moment of movement. What happens to us or a body physically if it stops moving? If you're not active, what happens? Anybody? Yeah, you can be louder. I heard. Feels very nice. Mike said it feels good. Well, that wasn't the answer I was going for, Mike, but yes. Right.
You lose movement. It's lost.
Yeah, I heard dies, right? And not to be morbid, but if you're not active, if you're not moving, it's not a great thing, right? And so when we think about that, when we compare it to our organization, what happens if our organization doesn't move forward? What happens if your businesses stop moving forward, right? You go out of business. You're not able to provide the resources to your clients and customers. We wouldn't be able to provide resources to our clients, you, all of you, our customers, our members. In full transparency, I had to remind myself about the importance of making time to move forward and making movement happen. So, in preparing for this event, we had a few challenges. It was one of our, it was been our board's goal, I should say our organization's goal, to have more in-person luncheons. kind of bring these things back. We haven't had this event since January of 2020. So it's been 3 years, almost to the date, since we've been able to actually have this event in person. And so as we were planning, there were some logistical challenges. As you saw, our speaker had to end up doing it virtually, kind of at the last minute. There was a little bit of construction out in the hallway. That was a little bit of a challenge. But you know what? Then I started to, I'm used to, we had these events back in like BC, before Corona. We would actually fill both of these rooms from one wall to the next with people. So I actually began to just stress out when I saw some of the numbers. And I'm calling Devin, I'm emailing our board, like, guys, what are we gonna do? Registration numbers aren't what they used to be. But we were reminded of the importance of taking that moment of moving forward. Even if things don't go exactly how you planned them to go, it's important to continue to make that time to move forward. We adjust. And I think we've all learned how to adjust and be flexible over these last few years, right? I think many of us have gotten really good at that. And so that kind of is our theme this year, is a moment of movement. So even if things don't go exactly how we planned, we figure out how to continue to move forward. That's our theme for our chamber this year, and I hope that you continue to kind of implement that theme throughout this year within your own operations as well. We don't know everything that the future may hold for us for the rest of 2023, but what we can agree to do is have that moment of movement to move forward. So, with that, we're going to talk about, as we move forward through the rest of the year with the Canton Chamber, we're going to talk about some of the events that we have planned for 2023. So this is actually an event that's coming back. This is just a clip from an old event that we had, but our Made in Michigan CEO series is coming back. There's going to be a series of luncheons, actually, that we have that will be hosted with 3 Michigan-based CEOs. If you've ever had an opportunity to attend these events, they're absolutely fantastic. I always kind of say that this is MJ's or Mary Jane's baby, because it kind of helps us plan these. So there's 3 more coming up this year. Stay tuned to your inboxes and mailboxes for announcements on future speakers. I will say that Roop Raj is a friend of this event. He's a friend of the Canton Chamber. He has committed to also moderate this panel of speakers from Channel 2. We'll be welcoming him back here in 2023 to moderate these CEO panels for us.
We can say it's February 21st or 22nd. It's gonna be one of those 2 days.
Yes. Yep, February 21st and 22nd, so stay tuned for confirmation on that. Next slide, please. This is a program that we're excited about. It actually will launch February 1st. Our Young Professionals Network. As we kind of look around our organization, we realize that there are actually quite a few young professionals that are engaging with us and have been over the course of the last couple of years. Actually, through the pandemic, we've seen an uptick in some of our younger professionals joining the organization. So we wanted to make sure that we have a resource and benefit for our young professionals. There is information over on the table, one of the tables over there. There's a flyer. If you and or somebody in your operations, in your offices, places of business, someone, we're kind of saying if it's, we say young at heart, but we say 40 or younger is kind of the designated age range for our young professionals. I say that I'm almost not eligible to be a part of this group in just a few years, so that's kind of scary. But 40 or younger, if it's you or someone in your place of business, grab a flyer, take that to them. We'll be launching with the first meeting on February 2nd at the Chamber office.
February 1st.
Oh, February 1st. I'm sorry, the 2nd is a different event. Yep, February 1st. Thanks, Lauren. Next slide, please. Okay, Chamber University. We launched this last year. It is returning this year. So this is a program that we launched to obviously enhance your professional and personal development. There will be a series of
webinars, I'm sorry, not webinars, seminars, workshops, presentations, whatever you want to call it, about an hour long, where you can actually receive insight on some professional and personal development opportunities. I will say, if you would like to be a part of the university by way of being a presenter, contact the chamber. We can have you send you an application and give us like some of the topics that you would like to present about, and we'll review that and be in contact with you about that. And in fact, there's going to be a follow-up email to this event where we'll add that information where you can click a link and submit your application to present electronically. And be creative. And if you think that it's something that not normally you would present on, that's okay. We wanted these to be unique presentations. Obviously things that will benefit the community at large, because we do invite our community at large and also our members. So even if you think it's not something that you could present on, feel free to still submit that application and we'll take a look at that. Okay? Mastermind. Another event that we actually launched, I should say, last year. We didn't lose Kelly. Kelly Smith and Tammy Haggerty are the co-chairs of our mastermind group. Again, as we looked at the demographics of our organization, there are some phenomenal women that are part of the Canton team. There are some phenomenal women that are part of the Canton community. And so again, we wanted to make sure that we built a resource and a group to bring all of these dynamic people together in one room. So last year, we actually launched the Mastermind, this professional business women's group. Take a look at the calendars that you all have at your place setting. You'll see that there's one scheduled every month throughout the year. One of the special things that I'm really excited about is we have pulled together a committee. If you want to be a part of this committee, also let us know. You can reach out to Kelly. Tammy Haggard's not here today. She's vacationing somewhere very warm, actually. I'm a little jealous. Reach out to Kelly before you go. We have a mastermind table over here. But we put together a committee because this year we're actually going to host a mastermind conference or symposium with speakers, maybe kind of TEDx style presentations. We're really excited about that. Some great ideas came out of our last meeting that we had a week or two ago. So if you have interest in that, please sign up. And again, let folks in your office know about these things as well, because it's a benefit to everyone that's a part of our organization. This is something that's coming back. We launched our Walk of Fame this year. This year it was in commemoration of our 50th anniversary. Last year was in commemoration of our 50th anniversary. But it went over so well, we thought that we could just make this an annual thing that we do. So you can actually purchase a star to be on the Walk of Fame. This is just an example of what it looks like. Your logo, or the Canton Chamber's logo, is where your logo would be, your contact information. All of them came unique with a QR code. The stars were actually placed around the pond at Heritage Park. We launched our Walk of Fame the first day of Liberty Fest. So it was a really great party for everybody to come out. People took pictures by their stars on the ground. So more information to come, but we're just saying this is going to be an annual staple or program for our chamber moving forward. Golf outing, as I speak of annual events that are coming up, that's scheduled for May 19th at Pheasant Run. Scott has been our chairperson for our golf outing the last few years. We have him on the hook this year, I believe, to chair that as well, Scott. If we didn't, we hadn't. I just said it in front of all these people. So mark your calendars for our golf outing. I should say, for all of these events that you hear, there are always opportunities to get involved and volunteer to be on the committee. So if you have questions about that, you can see Scott before you leave. Reach out to us if you'd like to be on our planning committee for the golf outing. Next slide. This is coming back, guys. We haven't done this in 3 years. Our wine tasting is coming back. We're actually going to have a date confirmed next week. We have a meeting next week to discuss it. But you're seeing it's a little different. We're calling it our International Wine, Beer, and Food Tasting. So we're going to kind of change it up a little bit. But the event is coming back. People have been asking about it, calling us, and Jody can probably tell us, we get calls, seems like almost every week, people asking us about when we're gonna bring our wine tasting back. But it's coming back in 2023. So stay tuned for more information about our wine tasting. I should say that's in partnership with Live Like the Max Foundation. Holiday Market is our partner. And so 50% of the proceeds for the wine tasting, from the wine tasting actually benefit the Live Like the Max Foundation that supports free healthy heart checks for student athletes. Just FYI. This is a new event. Our spring expo, we actually call it our spring board expo. This is going to be a combination of industries that will be represented at this expo. There'll be opportunities for a section for home improvement, women's area, makers market, pretty much any industry that you can think of. We're kind of bringing them together and kind of section them off to really have a smorgasbord of industry represented at this expo. More information to come from that. Cherry Hill Village Festival. We actually launched this event 2 years ago, 2020. Kind of came together. We were looking for events to do in partnership with the Village Arts Factory, and we gave birth to this festival. And the whole mission initially were to bring people, drive people down to Cherry Hill Village and show off the beautiful property that is the Village Arts Factory. If you haven't had a chance to see the property, check it out. If you have time to take a drive, even past it as you leave here today. It's in the village. So just take Cherry Hill straight down, just west of Ridge Road, and you'll see it right there on the south side of the street. But this event will be coming back this year. This past year we had entertainment, there's food trucks, there's opportunity for vendors to show up and present your products or services at this event. So more information about our Cherry Hill Village Festival as well. Coming soon. Our annual auction gala. So last year, this event served as our 50th anniversary event. This year, it's coming back as it would be before. Our annual auction gala. We're looking forward to this. This has always been one of our premier events of the year. One of the events that we always look forward to, and we always need people to help us and volunteer for the gala. So again, there is a committee. There's quite a few folks here that have been on the committee quite a few times. So we always thank you for your hard work for this event. There's a sign-up sheet. If you have an interest in helping us plan this event, solicit prizes, help us just fundraise and logistically get everything in order, we would love you for that. So there is a sign-up sheet over on the table that you can sign up for to help us out on the committee. September 29th is the date for that. And a lot more information to come about it. I keep saying really, but I'm really excited about this event too. So we had plans in 2020 to actually launch this event, our People's Choice Awards. So this was an event that we were kind of refurbishing. We always had our business awards. We wanted to do something a little different. So this event is really it's going to be like a true award ceremony. It's going to take place in November. It's going to be at the Village Theater. In November, check your calendars. The date should be listed on there. So this is going to be similar to like the best of, or vote for the best that Channel 4 News does. We're doing this in partnership with Today Magazine. Actually, when that magazine comes out, you'll see a story in the next edition of the Canton Today Magazine, which the next edition of the Canton Today Magazine will actually be our Canton Chamber directory that mid-February mark. Okay, so check your mailboxes between mid-February-ish for our chamber directory. So I will take this opportunity to say that's been a very successful partnership. This is the first time that our directory has been able to hit the mailboxes of every business and home in the Canton community, and we couldn't have done that. So in that magazine, you'll receive more information about the People's Choice Awards. all of the awards, and it's very similar to the actual People's Choice Awards, right? But you will have the opportunity to vote for best in class, right? So it could be like maybe best restaurant, best burger, best pizza, best dentist, best real estate agent, maybe. But the community will have the chance to actually vote. And you will have the opportunity to hype up people voting for you. So it gives you that much more exposure, getting that connection between our members and the community at large. So all of the results from the voting will happen electronically. All of the votes will be tallied and the winners will be announced at the actual award ceremony in November. So again, stay tuned for more information about our People's Choice Awards. It's going to be a great event. I always do a shameless plug. For all these events that I'm talking about, there are sponsorship opportunities. As Devin mentioned, there's a booklet on in your place settings there that will give you details about all those opportunities throughout the year. If you have questions about those sponsorship opportunities, you can give the office a call, speak with Pam, and she can give you all the information you need to know. And the next slide, I think that's you, Pam. So the next slide is we're going to talk about our membership referral program. And I'm going to hand that over to Pam for a couple minutes as she talks about that.
Thank you very much. I'm Pam Levetch. If I haven't met you in person, there's something wrong with me because I feel like I recognize all the faces. But I started with the chamber a year ago, August, so it's been almost a year and a half. And I'm really thrilled to be part of the team and part of the community. It's actually a goal that I've had for about 15 years, even before I came to Canton, but to have this role where I can be the matchmaker for businesses to help them grow and thrive. And so this is really exciting for me. Last year, if you remember, we had a membership drive. It was hugely successful. We brought in about 30 new members, which for one day was amazing. But what we realized also is that the majority of the new members that we brought in were referrals from current members. So we decided to switch things up and try something new and, move forward into that moment. And so in your tables, you have a table card that's a membership referral card. There is a QR code to scan. If you scan that code, save it in your phone, you can go right to the link on the website and refer people as you're talking to them. Why would you want to do that, you might ask? Well, number one, it helps the chamber. Number one, it helps you develop your network. Number three is we're going to give you $25 toward next year's renewal for every member that you refer. What? Really? So this is it's a great opportunity for you to maximize your investment with the chamber and help to bring in businesses that you think would be good members and partners here as well. Are there any questions? Who here is not yet a member of the Canton Chamber? All right. I just happen to have some membership applications if you want. If you need me for anything, I have business cards. You can call my cell phone. I'm not usually in the office. So if I'm in the office, I'm not out meeting with you. So thanks.
Thank you, Pam. One thing that we will mention that this little place card tells you to scan before you go. You actually can't leave this place until you scan this card. We're going to ask you just to refer one person that may pop into your head that you know through your network. One person that's not a member of the chamber, that you can scan this code today before you leave. If you need to think about it, we'll give you a couple seconds, but you can't leave until you scan this code. But scan before you go. As Pam mentioned, it's just a couple steps. You scan the code, go to our website, scroll down, you'll see the member referral link. Click that, and you just pop the information in, and we take care of the rest. And you get rewarded for it. And so please do that, as it says on here, help us grow your chamber, because it ultimately will benefit your networking and connection opportunities as well. So a lot of information that we ran through very, very quickly. This information plus more will be recapped in our monthly membership orientations. If you want to get more detailed information, if you're a new member, or even if you've been a member for quite some time, feel free to come out to these member orientations. The next one, the first one of the year, will happen next month. But feel free to register for those. Come back. Like I said, if you're a new member, we can kind of teach you how to make the chamber work for you. If you've been with us for quite some time, we can take you through a refresher course on how to make the chamber work for you as well. Our information booths will continue to be open after we conclude here. So if you want to get engaged, this is the year to do it. And so feel free to sign up for any of the sign-up sheets that are over there for those various committees. On behalf of the Canton Chamber of Commerce, once again, I'm Thomas Pink, President of the Canton Chamber of Commerce. Oh, there's a couple of things I didn't mention. Denise, Relay for Life. I did not talk about that at all. Denise has headed up the Canton Chamber's Relay for Life for I don't even know how many years now, 10 years. There's a sign-up sheet over there about Relay for Life. If you want to be a part of the Canton Chamber's Relay for Life team, see Denise about that. And also part of that Relay for Life is also the cabaret that has happened to raise funds for the American Cancer Society. And this year's date is October 25th. Okay, so mark that calendar as well for that event. And I'm going to do one more quick announcement about an event happening at Eastern Michigan University. We talked, actually Quentin mentioned it about some of the talent and workforce shortages that many of us have faced or continue to face. So Eastern Michigan is actually hosting an internship fair on February 8th at 11 a.m. So any information about that, you can see Mary Jane for that.
We need ready room helpers too.
And she can tell you what that is. It just gets the students ready to go on their interviews. It's actually really cool. I've done it a couple times. It's really cool. So with that, we thank you all for coming out to our Year Ahead event. We look forward to connecting and engaging with you throughout the year. There's more food. Help yourself, and please visit these tables as we go. Or any questions?
Thanks for keeping it in person.
Yes, and thank you for saying it. Thank you. Yes. Okay, that's it, guys. Thanks for coming.